This is a video about adding fractions, and I'll start by asking a slightly odd question. What would 2 elephants plus 3 elephants be? Yeah, it'd be 5 elephants. Or 2 cars plus 3 cars would be 5 cars. Or 2 sevenths plus 3 sevenths. Well, that would be 5 sevenths. I'm going to write that in numbers. 2 sevenths plus 3 sevenths is 5 sevenths. The moral of that story is that adding fractions is easy if the bottoms are the same. I mean, if it was 5 ninths plus 1 ninth, it would be 6 ninths. And maybe we'd simplify that down. We'd take some 3's out of that probably, and we'd call that 2/3, right? Divide by 3, divide by 3. So, as long as the bottoms are the same, you can just add the tops. The difficulty comes when the bottoms are different. Different bottoms, or denominators, I should use the technical term, different denominators, something say kind of 2 sevenths plus 3 elevenths. How are we going to handle that? Well, this is kind of like 2 elephants plus 3 cows. There's no way to just easily do it. What we have to do is change the fractions to make the bottoms the same. And we saw in video on equivalent fractions that you can, a half is the same as 2/4 is the same as 3/6, and so on. You can change the way a fraction looks by changing the numbers, but it still means the same thing. So what we've got to find is, can we find another 2 fractions that have the same bottoms? And the easiest way to do this is to make the new bottom the multiple of 7 elevenths. In this example, the 2 bottoms multiplied together give you a new bottom. So we'll have, I'm going to be thinking about my 2 sevenths, and I'm actually going to change that into something by multiplying by 11. So I'm going to multiply this by 11 to have 77 over here. And I'm also going to think about my 3 elevenths. But I'm going to multiply for my 3 elevenths, I'm going to multiply that by 7. And that will also give me 77 on the bottom. So I'm looking to change these 2 fractions into 2 fractions with the same thing on the bottom. And so what I've got to work out now is what's going to go on the top here. Well, I've got to times that by 7 as well. So I've got to times this by 7 as well, which is going to give me 21. And I need to times this by 11 as well, which gives me 22. I'll talk through the thinking again. The thinking is, I've got to do 2 sevenths plus 3 elevenths. I want to change these 2 things into fractions with something the same on the bottom. And the easiest way to do that is to multiply the 7 by 11 and multiply the 11 by 7. So I get 77 on the bottom. And once I've done that, I can work out what I need on the top by saying, well, I've multiplied by 11 here, so I multiply by 11 here. I've multiplied by 7 here, so I multiply by 7 here. And now I've got a new way to write this sum. I can say that this sum is equal to 22 over 77 plus 21 over 77. And I can just do that. I can just say, well, this is 43 over 77. So by doing this bit of thinking, I've turned my 2 fractions into something I can add together because the denominators are the same. In practice, we can actually do this in a much simpler way than having to do all of this writing out. So we'll do another one and we'll we'll see what that turns out to be. So let's do 1/5 plus 3/4. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this is the same. I'm going to put everything over 5 times 4, because that's what I did a minute ago. I had everything over 5 times 4, which is 20. And what am I going to need to do to my 1? Well, to get my 1, I'm going to need 1 times 4. And to get the 3 up here, I'm going to do 3 times 5. So I hope you see where all those numbers have come from. The bottom is just the two bottoms times together. And then I go across. I have to do 1 times 4 and 5 times 3. So this is going to give me 4 plus 15 over 20, which is 19 over 20. And all I've really done there, all I've really thought about is the fact that 1/5, if I multiply that by 4 to get it over 20, then I've got to multiply that by 4 to get 4. So I've changed my 1/5 into 4/20ths. And I've changed 3/4. I'm going to times that by 5 to get it into 20. Times that by 5. So I've thought 315. So I've changed my 3/4 into 15 over 20. 3/4 becomes 15 over 20. So this is kind of what we're thinking. And this is how we write it out. Okay. Just to make sure, we'll do one more example. So let's try 3/8 plus 4/7. So again, I'm going to start by putting everything over 8 times 7. And then at the top, for this one here, I'm going to do 3 times 7. So what I've done is rewritten 3/8 as 3 times 7 over 8 times 7. And for this piece here, I need 4 times 8. And what that's doing is rewriting the 4/7 as 4 times 8 over 7 times 8. And add those two things together. I'm going to get 21 and 32 all over 56, which is just the same as 53 over 56. And that's how you add up fractions.